Whoa. Hi, I'm Matt, and this is Learn With Me, where I attempt to write a subgenre music that I've not attempted to write before. Today I'm trying Argent Metal, also known as Doomcore. Characteristics are usually low-tuned guitar riffs, industrial electronic sounds, and atmospheric and aggressive dark tones. Artists such as Void Amber, Geoffplaysguitar, Alamander, and of course Mick Gordon are just some of the artists I've listened to for inspiration for this. First I'm going to program a quick simple drum beat, and then we'll get on guitar and start trying to come up with some low heavy riffs. So for the drums, I'm going to use Addictive Drums 2 by XLN Audio. What the hell's going on? I've got a MIDI controller down here that's actually freaking out for some reason, and it's actually controlling the drums. Pretty cool. Maybe that's how I can do some double pedaling. So I'm thinking just a simple 4 on the floor with some kind of like maybe 8ths on the hi-hat. And clearly we want to go faster, so I'm thinking maybe something like this. I'm just going to tap that in. Wow, that's a bit quick. Let's do 180. Let's keep it like that for now. I've already got a guitar channel set up. Let's get the guitar. So I think I'm going to use Native Instruments Guitar Rig 7 for the sound. I've got a few kind of guitar emulators, and I think Guitar Rig's probably going to be the best for kind of this heavier stuff. So I'm going to select guitar as the input. Let's do genres, and let's pick metal. Right, let's see what tight and chunky sounds like. Yeah, it sounds pretty good actually already. But what I want to do is get a tuner, and we're actually going to go down to drop C. Yeah, it sounds pretty good. Ideally, I'd be using a 7-string for this, although I've actually never played a 7-string before. I would love to get one at some point, but for now, this is going to do. So I kind of want like a very fast riff, so, you know, some... And I kind of like the idea of like tapping in some notes. Oh yeah, I like that going. Duh, 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 duh. Yeah, let's record that. Now I want to just basically re-record that again as another channel, and we're basically going to keep layering the guitar. So I'm going to duplicate that. Let's unmute that so I can hear it. Okay. So what I want to do now is just pan these hard left and right, so we should get this really kind of great kind of stereo heaviness. Yeah, it's sounding really heavy already, that's great. So I want to try to get the second part down. Struggling to play that a little bit. Right, let's try again. And then let's try and record it again for the other channel. I like the fact that actually they didn't match at the very end then. So I think now what I'd like to do is come up with another section on the guitar. So now I like the idea of kind of having like a rhythm, but then add some like kind of harmonics in there. Something like that. Yeah, I think that could probably work. And I'm going to do the same again and record these twice. So we've got the left and right channels filled. We don't need to ring that out again because we've got a lot of these ring outs already. So copy that and let's do it again. One of them is a little bit weak actually, in that second. Yeah, that's a little bit shit, but I'm just going to copy the first one over. Nice. I think what I would like to do now is try find a different tone for this guitar. So when I look for the preset, see if we can find something else. Sounds pretty cool. Oh, that's quite meaty. Yeah, so I'm actually going to use this and record the whole thing again. Okay, there were some bits that are a little bit off there, but I'm just going to do the old copy and paste. Now, I think one more thing I want to do is create another channel, and I've actually got a sub pedal over here, which is the C4 Synth by Source Audio. You'll hear that that's already really subby. And if you're not wearing headphones, you won't be able to hear that low end, but that is very, very subby. So what we're actually going to do is replay this part and use this sub pedal so we're getting that really, really deep kind of sub. So you can hear when I play higher up. If you've not got headphones on, hopefully you can hear that, but it's just, this is like basically, it pushes everything octave lower and just makes it super sub, and it's great. In fact, if I put like overdrive on that, let's try the Mandrake. Whoa. I mean, that sounds amazing. Let's try to do the clean. Let's record this. I'm going to change this color to make it red just because it sounds really mean. And I really strongly suggest putting some headphones on if you can't hear what I'm doing. I'm going to record it again with the Mandrake on as well. The Mandrake's by KMA. So let's just lower all these guitars down for a little bit because they're all a little bit loud, I think, at the minute. So I think this subby sound we've got, I'm just going to put a high cut on it because I don't really like the way the high sound. I'm just going to use the Waves Q1. So I'm going to cut everything off after probably 125. Yeah. And again, if you're not wearing headphones, you probably can't hear that now, but it's very, very subby. And then let's have a look at this one. So this sound I'm actually going to put a low cut on because we've already got all the low end we need. And I'm also going to actually do this with the guitars as well. So we've got low cuts on all the guitars now, so it should sound a lot cleaner now. I think this one I'm actually going to keep out for now because it's making it sound all a bit messy. Yeah. And I like the idea that only one guitar starts with the riff on its own. Maybe let's start with these ones actually, because I think that sounded a little bit too weak on its own. So this one can come in. Obviously we need to work on these drums as well, so I'm going to keep that for now, but then I'm going to create a part that actually matches this actual riff that we're hearing. So I'm just kind of trying to match the rhythm of the guitar. Putting some velocity in there so it kind of sounds a bit more real. Yeah, let's get some toms in there. Yeah, it sounds pretty good. We just need another kind of cymbal in there. Where are the cymbals? Oh yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. So in context. So obviously this will be kind of the main drop, I guess, or the first kind of drop. So I think I want to start with like kind of an ambient-y kind of sound, like quite texturally. And I've noticed that the sync mic has been on for the first half of this video, which kind of, if I turn it on, you can kind of hear this like almost wailing sound. And I actually want to record that and have that as the intro. So I'm just going to record this kind of weird noise. Okay, just 4 bars of it. I'm going to create a new audio track for this. So let's first put the utility on this. And we're going to actually rename this to intro sound. It sounds weird, doesn't it? Wow, yeah, okay. So we kind of got this static, which is quite cool for an intro. Actually going to put some reverb. I'm going to use the spaced out for this. I'm going to turn to live, which is on the left. And then keep the reverb and put it on out of space. Put the stardust up. Almost sounds like rain. I wonder if we pitch shift this. Let's put it down an octave. Push it a bit more. Yeah, that's actually pretty cool. Okay, so that's kind of our intro sound. Let's move all this a bit. I kind of want a couple of bars intro. Let's try find some kind of trippy sound. So I'm going to create a new MIDI track, and I'm going to use Spitfire Audio's Labs. And I want to try just find some like very textural sounds, kind of creepy, almost like dungeony, dripping kind of sounds. So let's have a look. All choir. How's this sound? Oh yeah, okay. Now we're talking. Push this up to 4 bars, and the track's in C, so we'll just go for a low C. This might be too low actually, because Labs actually does have a range. And then for the second part, I'm actually gonna then put the C sharp in there, because that's essentially what we're doing on the guitar. But I want those 2 notes to stay overlapping, so it just sounds really kind of. I obviously need to move everything again. And I don't know if this will keep continuing if I actually extend this, but hopefully it will and it won't stop. And then let's put that. This is going to sound really nasty, I think, but in a good way. Yeah, it's quite an interesting intro. I want to put the spaced out reverb on this kind of choir as well. So I feel like this section, when the guitars come in, is almost like the part B or section B. I don't feel like it's strong enough for the intro. So I'm going to definitely keep all this and come up with another part for kind of the intro, I think. I think the intro just needs to be chugging. And I want to try to come up with a drum beat first that I'm going to play along to. So I'm thinking like almost like a kind of yeah, exactly what I was wanting. And I want like some kind of, oh yeah, bit of bell action in there. I don't want that just yet, actually. I kind of want like a drop, like a big and I think the perfect thing for that is a plugin I've not used in a long time, get Contract, and yeah, Substance. This thing is like all about this kind of like low end, kind of bassy, stubby sound. I mean, that's perfect, isn't it? But there's actually a drop sound in here that I want to use, which I think, there you go. Apocalyptic drop. So let's record that in. That's pretty good. I'm just going to quantize that. So we have this kind of big build-up intro, and I want to kind of continue these. I want these to be lower, so I'm going to create a new track, and I'm actually going to record this into the audio. So let me just record this. And my plan is to record this, and then push it down an octave, and kind of chop it up a little bit, do some kind of glitchy stuff with it. I'm going to keep recording that tail as well, because that might be handy. And I think what I'm going to do is actually get rid of this and just use this bit. And let's put this an octave lower and see how it sounds. Yeah, and then copy that. And what I'm going to do actually as well is actually duplicate this and push it an octave higher and then reverse it. I'm actually going to put a fade on this because it's a little bit strong, but it is doing the exact effect that I wanted, which just sounds really creepy. In fact, I'm actually going to put the spaced out reverb on this as well, so it smooths it out a bit. I think that's quite a nice little intro. Well, I wouldn't say nice, but I think it's fitting. Right, let's get back on guitar. I like the idea of actually coming up with kind of a melodic part to go into this before the drums come in. I'm going to use the Earthquaker Avalanche Run. In fact, this isn't going to work. I'm hearing a noise gate, so I'm going to turn the noise gate off, which means it's going to be loads of horrible noise. I mean, it's heavily distorted, but I like the effect. So what I want to try to record is kind of some kind of this textural stuff. Going to lower everything because I think it's actually peaking slightly, and let's do another layer. I think for this though I'm going to change the sound because it's a little bit too noisy for my liking. Is there a stadium lead sound? Yeah, that could work. Right, let's do another layer. So now I'm going to create like kind of almost like a lead kind of textural part, and just because I want it to be really kind of go on forever, I'm using the Earthquaker Devices Avalanche Run, and I'm also going to use my dark light on the reverb setting as well. So this will just be very, very kind of, hopefully quite ambient-y, quite dark. Yeah, I mean, that sounds great. Okay, now we need to do the rhythm parts for this section. I'm going to center it for now, just for recording's sake. And So I just noticed something here. I quite like the fact how the other guitar starts playing. I kind of like, doo, and that kind of sounded quite good with other guitars. So I'm basically going to change it so the drums come in, everything comes in for this kind of second bit. Kind of hard to explain, but hopefully it'll make sense. So let's say. So something like that. But let me record the other guitar now. Okay, and now I'm going to record the same part again, but for the right channel. Cool, okay, so let's pan that to the right again. Obviously the levels are a little bit all over the place, but I think the parts are there. So I think structurally I'm pretty happy with the way this all kind of came together so far. I think obviously once we get to this kind of, that obviously needs to be a lot bigger. And we could just do it with the drops. In fact, let's duplicate this and use that sound that I found. In fact, I think it's the very first preset in this Substance. This is a very old plugin, actually. Well, I quite like that already. I definitely want to use that at some point, so I'm just going to record that quickly. So maybe this can come at the end. So I'll have to tighten that last bit up, but that just came to me. I quite liked that. Definitely use that at some point. But let's go back to the section we're actually working on. So I think... Oh yeah, I'm already hearing the sounding. Okay, so I think that's the part. So let's try to record that. And then we could just copy that. So I'm going to quantize this, just because I don't think it was the tightest thing in the world. I'm going to add a note in there as well. Now I think I want to make those guitars a little bit tighter, so I'm actually going to look at just quantizing them slightly. Hopefully this won't mess it up too much. And I'm going to put a little drop here as well with the bass drop. So the drums need to change for this next section. And if we just copy that last phrase there. She works very well. And then for this next bit. Now I actually want to look at the sound of this drum kit as well. I'm just going to duplicate this. I might even layer the drums a few times. But let's first have a look at this sound. I'm just going to loop this first bit. I mean, I quite like that, but I mean, that already is better. I mean, that's pretty good as well. Yeah, that actually sounds... Let me hear it from this part as well. Oh, with both kits though, that sounds heavy. fact, I'm going to work on this beat a little bit so it's a bit more interesting before I copy it. I kind of want to add like a little ride in there. Let me just loop this and solo it. Just changing velocities. Add a bit of a fill in there. Take out the rides so it's a realistic fill. Cool, and copy that, and then we'll copy it here as well. Okay, so this section, I like to cut out the bass. And I kind of like the idea of making this a little bit glitchy. So what I want to do is let's cut that out because that sounds a bit naff. I also realised that I need to tidy some of these guitars up actually, because they don't match. But what I'm going to do is get this and just make it really glitchy. So I'm going to copy this and just copy this little section because I want it to sound really quite horrible. And I'm also going to just have a complete dead silence here. Maybe for a full bar stop. Actually, I'm over for the full thing. Right, we need another beat. Maybe like a flam for the snare here. Yeah, and then we just want to maybe go to the hi-hat for this to add some kind of variation. And we'll see for the second time around we want to continue the beat. And I think for this section, I'm thinking just like four on the floor, almost like a dance beat, like a It's a bit silly, but I think it's fun. I just need to sort out what's going on with these guitars because I kind of want them to keep ringing until this last bit. In fact, maybe they can take turns. Let me quantize these as well. I think that first one, yeah, that first one's perfect. Let's just copy that over. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So I want to kind of look at these guitars because I did say that I think some of the playing wasn't completely perfect. I'm actually going to copy a little section of this for these gaps. Yeah, that sounds great. And I'm going to have one bar of that. I wonder if I put this on the offbeat, how it sounds. It might sound a bit naff. That's like maybe faster. It's silly. I think I actually preferred it when it was slower. And I think just to make this even crazier, I'm actually going to create another MIDI track and get like a techno kick to add onto the bottom just to make it really fat. So I'm actually going to use the AG techno kick because the kick on that's, considering it's just like an Ableton default kind of kick, it's pretty beefy, doesn't need much to it. I just solo it. You can hear it. Yeah, I mean that already sounds pretty perfect, so. Okay, so let's get back to the intro now. I feel like I've said that a few times and I keep getting distracted by things, but we need to focus on the intro and make sure it's as atmospheric as possible. I want to see what else Waves has got. Maybe there's like some kind of foghorn sound we can do. Yeah, foghorn. Let's have a listen to this. Ooh. What's this sound? I think what I want to do now is kind of make little glitchy bits, and I think that's something that Mick Gordon did a lot with the Doom soundtracks. I think this part right here would be good for the first kind of, at the end of this first phrase. So let's kind of like maybe copy this note like this, but then kind of have this thing where it takes turns. Yeah, that's pretty cool, but I think we still need the bass in there. Maybe I'll just kind of stutter it. Yeah, and then the drums, I think, for this bit can just be kind of like a buh on the kick. And then here, I want to copy this so it just stays on this note. And then use the part of this sound that we used before and actually have it come over this bit as well. So let's have a listen. This sound that we recorded before, I quite like the idea of actually maybe seeing how that sounds over these little bits. Yeah, so this bit needs to be cleaning up because the guitars are playing different things. Maybe let's just get rid of this guitar for this section. What's the bass doing? I actually quite like that. Let's copy this because that drop sounds great. Obviously this needs more going on with it. I think maybe this section, let's try play that rhythm on guitar and see how it sounds. If I can figure that out. I think it's... See what happens when I just record. That'll do. So let's copy that to the first guitar part and we'll do it again. I think it wasn't as tight. I think it was the second half that was... That's pretty tight there, so I'm just going to copy that there. I think we're good for guitar, I think. You don't tend to get kind of lead parts on the guitar, I don't think, that I remember. So I think it's mostly just rhythm, like riffs. So I think maybe let's try, see if we can add some more synths. I think the intro's pretty much there. I think maybe we can add some more stuff in the intro, kind of like some kind of like really kind of like a lead synth. That'd be good. Let's use Baby Audio's BA1 for this. Now this isn't really known for having like crazy like dark sounds, but I think if we put some like overdrive on it, maybe we can find what we're looking for. Let's have a look at pads. So this sound might not sound like much, it sounds kind of like a flute, but if I put iZotope's Trash on this, no, it's not what I was thinking. That sound could be good if we can make it a lot more dirty sounding. Push the drive up. Wow, there's loads of low end coming out there. Okay, yeah, it's getting there. And I think I'm going to actually add a second trash to this. Okay, and then the Baby Audio spaced out on this. Turn the delay off. Put it on out of space. Okay, yeah, I think that sounds pretty cool. So I think what we'll do with this sound, I'm just going to record over the whole track and just try create little textural elements and maybe some lead parts, and hopefully there's something usable in there. Okay, so I actually hit a note wrong. It should be the B. Just delete this, put the B there. But yeah, that's definitely sounding like it fits this genre. Okay, let's now do like a lead part, I think, over this first drop. So I've pushed an octave higher. Quite like the idea of maybe just putting some kind of filter on this and having it quite low in the mix. I'm going to use Baby Audio's Transit 2 and hopefully just get like some kind of filter effect on this. Yeah, I mean that already sounds pretty cool. The main thing really is making sure this, for those little kind of da-da-da-da kind of sounds or the harmonic stuff, I really want everything to be like everything else to be silent. So I think especially this, when it's got a lot of kind of a reverb tail, I want to make sure that that's being completely silenced. So what I'm going to do, rather than automating the volume in Ableton, I always use the utility because it means you can still adjust the volume independently. So if we get the gain, 0, this section, and do the same here. You should have this nice clean, yeah. And do the same for these sections here. Now I think here I'm kind of hearing like some kind of weird drum feel. You know, it's a lot of toms and a little bit erratic. Oh yeah, that sounds pretty cool. Let me just copy that a few times. It just sounds like the snare sounds really ace actually. So let's have a listen to that in context of everything. I think I kind of want it to be a dead stop or dead silence from the guitar. And then a flam on this very last hit would be good, I think. Just an air flam with the kick. Nice. Okay, and now I want to develop this kind of dance beat a bit more. I'd like to actually have a different cymbal hit for the second part, so it's not the same. It's always difficult finding the cymbals. I think for this bit, I'm going to increase the kicks. And we have a little double pedaling bit at the end of the phrase. So I think it's really getting there. I'm really enjoying this genre. It's amazing. I think now what I want is to put some more synth on that. I'm really leaning towards using the Moog. But what I want to do is wire the Moog into the pedal board and then back into the interface. But first we need to get this MIDI keyboard controlling the Moog. So first I'm going to create a MIDI track and I'm going to call this Moog controller. And we're going to use the Moog Minitaur editor. Pop it on there, and this will allow us to actually change presets. It's really, really handy because it's very difficult to actually change presets on this. You can't actually access everything either. So this is a really, really useful tool. And we also need to use the external instrument that's under instruments, and we need to throw that in there. And this will actually allow us to select the ultralight, which is the interface, which is telling this to send a signal to the interface on the MIDI out, and that goes to the Minitaur. So now we can see a signal. We're not actually hearing anything yet because we haven't actually got the audio channel for the Moog. So defaultly this is going into 6, so if I put this on in, you can now hear the Moog. But what we want to do is put the Moog through the pedal board. So I'm actually going to then send this, let me name this as well. Let me just name it Moog. Now what I actually want to do is send this to 5, the out on this. So then we need to create another audio track, and we'll call this one pedal board. We'll put that one in as well, and we'll see that it's coming out on 4. So if I put on distortion, or an overdrive, or even a synth pedal, we can see that it's all coming through the pedal board now, which is really, really handy because I could send anything now through the pedal board that's going through the interface. So now it's time to try add some kind of nastiness. And that's now going through the Himitus, which is the Earthquaker Devices overdrive. Oh yeah, that sounds great. So I think what I want to do is try and find the root notes, record them, and then I quite like the idea of kind of interchanging between the guitars and the Moog. In fact, I wonder how it sounds if I add a bit of reverb to this. Woo! Okay, now we're talking. So I think for this next section, I don't want the reverb on, just the distortion. I think what I'm going to do actually is probably use MIDI, so I'm not having to play it. I'm going to play the MIDI in, because I can do that with the Moog controller, which is also a really good feature to have MIDI going into the Moog, because I can just program it and then affect it using the knobs, which means the timing will be perfect. So now what we can do is, now we've got that programmed in, I can actually affect it quite like that. So let's record arm this and record that in. Yeah, that's cool. And I think what I want to do is just cut out some bits, just to see how that synth sounds on its own. It kind of adds that glitchiness. Yeah, and I think what I'm going to do is actually create another channel and just give that emphasis. I'm going to copy that one little bit, push it up an octave, lower the volume. And I think for the drums, this little section, I'm going to have kind of a cymbal hit just to kind of give more emphasis to this section. In fact, I'm going to have double pedaling and a snare on that first hit. In fact, I'm going to have a little fill there. This might sound a little bit odd, but just experimenting and seeing what works. Oh yeah, that works well. That works really well. So maybe more of that, maybe here, that's pretty prominent. Push it up 12, so we've got emphasis on that. And maybe let's just take the guitars out for this bit. And let's copy that little drum bit again for that. Now I've already got quite a lot of sub on this section, so I'm going to put a low cut once I've recorded this next bit, but I really do want to add this into the mix. Wow, it's just so good. Again, I'm actually going to program this in. Yeah, I mean, that sounded pretty heavy. It sounds a little bit mushy at the minute. We definitely want to put a low cut on it, but it's sounding good. I'm going to miss it out for this little bit, but then bring it back for this punkier bit. I quite like that high up. But then for the C sharp, I'm going to go real low. Okay, I think I do want something here, but I think I'm just going to have like a solid note, which I guess would be maybe just a C. That's too high. I'm going to push that down one. if I can sync the LFO rate to the track. So if I go to Moog control and go under the hood, MIDI sync. So that should be synced now. Oh yeah, there we go. So I've synced it to 16ths now. That's really cool. That's another reason why you should have MIDI going through it from the computer, because the world's your oyster when it comes to that. Okay, so let's try record it now. And at the very end there, I just activated the reverb on the dark light just to add some kind of sound. So what I want to do is add a low cut to this. So I'm going to go to the Waves Q1 and just use mono because it's all mono. And I'm just going to put a low cut, probably starting at about 60 up to 250. And I think for this little glitchy bit, I'm just going to cut it out. I actually think I want to put a slight high cut on this as well. Maybe dropping down after 4K. Maybe let's push up a little bit more. So I think that's actually got all the elements that I'd like to add. I think it's pretty much there, but I'm really happy with how it is so far. It's been really, really fun to get into this. I've done some kind of routing on the interface, which I've not really got into for a long time. And really unleashing the Minitaur here, I think, as well. So I think what I want to do is quickly just have a listen through, kind of clean some bits up, do some mixing as well. I think the thing I'm noticing is the drums are a little bit weak. Everything's a little bit of mush going on. So I'm just going to go section by section. I'm going to lower everything a tiny bit. Push the drums up a bit. I like this little guitar bit actually. I kind of want to add a filter to that. So I'm going to use the Baby Audio Transit 2 on this because I like the idea to go. Just going to loop one section of this and solo it. Just going to go through the presets. Oh, that's cool. Let's use this. Okay, let's automate this and then have it automate back down. Let's have a listen to that. Oh yeah. I think I almost want to like copy some of this audio because to keep that going, because that was very cool, and have it cut out for this little glitchy bit because that sounds awesome. And then obviously dead stop here. And I think I want to bring it back. I'm also going to put a high cut on this, so it kind of automate it, so it kind of like slowly drops down and loses that kind of energy a bit, so this kind of transition isn't so extreme. So push this all the way there because we don't want it to affect anything, and let's automate. So it kind of comes down. We want that to be full peak again. Let's have a listen to that. Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, I'm really happy with this. I think I'm going to leave it there for now, and I'm just going to add some quick mastering. I'm going to use Ozone 11, and then yeah, just pick balanced master, because this tends to be pretty good, quick and easy just as, you know, for demoing essentially. Okay, let's have a listen. I love it. What a really fun genre to get into. This has been really cool. It's definitely a genre I want to try again. It's so much fun. I think the only thing I'll probably do is maybe have more glitchy stuff at the intro. I feel like once it dropped, the first drop feels like it's almost just like a metal track. And I think a lot of the time there tends to be more ambient dropouts and drop-ins. And I think with this, I just felt full energy once we get into it, especially the outro. The only thing that I'd probably change if I was to start again now is probably have more ambient sections, maybe not have it so full on energy wise, because it just kind of gets bigger and bigger. I think that probably maybe help, maybe split it up, maybe some more glitchiness. But yeah, it's been awesome. Let me know what you think in the comments. It's been a really fun one, and yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this, and until next time.